Recording. Hello, last day of January, our artificial intelligence updates. Crazy week, so many updates, and we will start, of course, with DeepSeek R1. So, China this week came up with multiple models, and DeepSeek R1 is not the best one. They actually produced more models which are even better and smaller. But DeepSeek R1 is the one which create this turmoil and market lost trillions of dollars, whatever, political moves, lots of noise. So what they have done in December, they released paper about the DeepSeek version 3. So this is a 2-year-old company, DeepSeek in China, and they are funded by some sort of hedge fund. And they produced a lot of models over this time. They're very talented and very technical. So they go down to like multi-threading assembly level if needed, not just using high-level tools. Anyway, so they published article in December about version V3, and then in January they released a fine-tuned version of V3, which is called R1. R stands for reasoning. And the way it works, during the training, they train the model to do the reasoning, right? This is similar how when you're giving the prompt to a model, you can in the prompt include examples of here is the question and this is how you answer this. And you can give multiple questions, multiple answers, and then you say, okay, here is my real question, answer it in the same way, right? And this called like five shot answering or 10 shot or whatever, how many examples you provided. So you can fine-tune the model, giving it examples on how to answer the question, how to do the reasoning steps. And that's what they've done. They're using a reinforcement learning, so the model receives feedback of its predictions and iteratively refines them to improve accuracy, right? You don't need huge model for that. You can do it on a small model, same thing, and models become better at certain tasks which require reasoning. The model's training process is structured like human education, starting with simple tasks and gradually increasing in complexity. DeepSeek can analyze its own reasoning process, so it's doing self-reflection. It's a key part of learning process. Without relying solely on increasing the size of training data. So yeah, this simple process, which they were not the first to implement it. They were not the ones who invented it, but they just did it well, and they showed that the result is the model which beats big proprietary models like OpenAI. And at the same time, they released it completely open source. And this caused this scandal. So why people need to pay $200 a month to OpenAI when they can just use a model which is available for free and it's completely open source? And OpenAI tries saying, oh, DeepSeek used our data, but I'll talk about it. Anyway, so this is example. Somebody runs multiple Mac Minis, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and one Mac laptop. Together, I estimate it's about $24,000 for the whole setup. And it runs the model, although slowly, but yeah, it can be run. But there are also multiple versions quantized down to 4 bits, for example. You can run it using Olama or any other provider. Azure, Microsoft is offering it, and many other vendors. So I don't think like OpenAI or anybody else can stop it because it became open source. It's already released. So you cannot put genie back in the bottle. Yeah, they claim that they used 2.8 million GPU hours using H800. So there are export regulations for NVIDIA GPUs. NVIDIA cannot give China H100s. So they came up with another model, which is H800, which complies with the export regulations. It's about twice slower than H100, but it is still much faster than A100. So actually, DeepSeek were using pretty good hardware, And also because it's not their first model, they were refining their processes, they were refining their data. So what you see, it's not revolution. It's not something completely new. It's incremental improvement over what existed before. So DeepSeek's AI assistant has overtaken OpenAI ChatGPT on Apple Store, right, in the US. DeepSeek has claimed to spend only 5 or 6 million over 2 months to train. Okay, yes and no, because this is on top of the mountain of research work which they have done over the last 2 years. OpenAI accuses DeepSeek for intellectual property theft, for using OpenAI models to train theirs. Well, maybe, but OpenAI was sued by New York Times and so many others for using their data, so it's all kind of the same. Uh, yeah, I really like this image. Um, this is from the movie. Okay, you are trying to kidnap what we've rightfully stolen. Yeah, this is like really well describes the situation between OpenAI and DeepSeek. Oh, I can probably move it in here. Anyway, DeepSeek AI assistant has overtaken OpenAI ChatGPT on App Store, and you see these images. This is DeepSeek, how it looks on iPhone. Can AI development really be that cheap? So they claim that it was very cheap for this size of the model, but again, Elon Musk says this is all bullshit. They're just not telling the truth, not telling all the truth. Anyway, open source AI development drive prices down. So I spoke about DeepSeek in China, but a couple days later, we have Alibaba, which have Qwen family of models. Qwen is a great model. We were using it since, I guess, May, June. There was Qwen 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and now they released 2.5 Max, which is, first of all, only about 72 billion parameters compared with 671 at DeepSeek. So it's like 10 times smaller, but it's comparable on main benchmarks. So you can run it on your laptop, and this is great. Or maybe not. I don't know if they already released it. Usually they released it open source, like all these Qwen models released open source. Um, Kiwi? No, it's not Kiwi. It's Kimi. Why is it so Kiwi? Kimi K1.5, yet another new open source LLM from China by MoonshotAI, multimodal, 128K context, great for STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, coding, general reasoning, outshines OpenAI O1 and Qwen models. So it's amazing model. If you go to their website, it's completely in Chinese. There is no English. So, and there are some other models which I'll list later, but what it shows that suddenly we have this avalanche of models. They're all open source. They're all cheap, much cheaper what we had in America. And I want to compare it with the Ford Model T, which was released in 1908, and the goal was to create the car which is affordable, right? And this started this huge automobile industry, huge amount of money and so on. So we are now at this point in history with AI. Suddenly we have affordable and good models which everybody can use, right? So this is actually very good for NVIDIA. The fact that NVIDIA lost like $500 billion in one day on Monday doesn't matter, because the more models, the more applications for these models, the more chips they will need. So I really recommend this short video by Fireship where he goes into like what happened and the scandal around DeepSeek. Here we have two models compared side by side. It's Kimi K1.5 and Qwen 2.5 Max. So if I go to this website and yeah, you will see like completely Chinese website, no English, right? And yeah, and there is a GitHub, whatever. It's open source. There is a publication about it, and this is Qwen, right? And Qwen has multiple models, including vision, including smaller models, and so on. If you go to Alama, let me actually go Alama, and we go into models. Oh, here, DeepSeek R1, you see? And if we look at Qwen, So there are a lot of versions of Qwen. As you see, Qwen is a very well established, and there you see in different sizes, in different bitness, quantized down. You can use them. So DeepSeek Janus better than DALL-E 3. DALL-E 3 is coming from OpenAI. It's text to image, generate images, but now you can use a model from DeepSeek, which is not maybe as good but comparable and completely free, which is important. Okay, open source AI development, Open R1. So this is a completely open project. This is not DeepSeek, but it's also called R1. They tried to reproduce DeepSeek R1 in their own GitHub repository. So this is interesting project. A lot of stars, very popular. Qwen-2.5-M. This is 1 million context length, and these are small models. 7B and 14B. The one which I spoke before, Max, it is actually like 72 billion parameters. These are small models, but with long context length, right? And they 7B and 14B. So this is the link. Meta is planning to spend 65 billion on their AI infrastructure. You know, I see these numbers like tens of billions or hundreds of billions. I remember 2 years ago, I was talking about 10 million, 50 million. Huge amounts of money is thrown on all this. Okay, OpenAI Canvas now works with OpenAI O1 model. So you need to use the toolbox icon or write /canvas command. Also, Canvas can now render HTML and React code, which is actually very, very convenient. UI TARS native GUI agent. So this is a GitHub project, open source, navigates and controls computers and mobile devices. So you can tell it what to do and it can work on your device. Developed by ByteDance, which is China, and Tsinghua University, outperforms GPT-4, OpenAI's operator, and Claude on multiple benchmarks. So again, multiple vendors solving the same problem, how to operate your computer or your mobile device. Two sizes, 70B and 72B. And these are examples of the screens. So you see it. So AI agent operates your device. DeepSeek R1. This is a really great video by Matthew Berman. I love him, and he gave very good analysis of the whole situation with R1. I got calls, people saying, what to do? Well, nothing. Buy NVIDIA, I guess, because it's a deep and you can get it cheaper because it will continue to grow. I mean, this is not like investment advice, but it's just common sense. Andrei Karpathy about DeepSeek in December. So when they published the paper about the version 3 model, he wrote, I think it was on Twitter, DeepSeek making it look easy today with open weights release of their model trained on a joke of a budget. For reference, this level of capacity is supposed to require clusters of close to 16,000 GPUs and whatever. I wouldn't say they're like 10 or 20 times less hardware. I would say maybe 2-3 times. But take into consideration that models improve, hardware, like the way people use hardware improves, and they did some tricky, sneaky stuff, really going, not just CUDA, but going into like multi-threading, custom code. Anyway, does this mean you don't need large GPUs? No, but you have to ensure that you are not wasteful with the hardware. Okay, next. Yes, Berkeley, small models learn using reinforcement learning. So DeepSeek used reinforcement learning to achieve this reasoning thinking, right? So researchers in Berkeley decided to reproduce the same approach using a very small model. So they used a model which is only 1.5 billion parameters, and they were able to actually teach it very, very effectively. So model became much better using the same approach as DeepSeek. Yeah, this is great, I guess. This is a great video. Open source AI development. You know, the previous USA administration tried to kind of convert AI into similar to Manhattan Project to control it. Like, remember when nuclear weapons were designed, everything becomes secret, not published, and so on, Manhattan Project. With AI, they also made some regulations and appointed like big players like OpenAI and some others. So they cannot control like everything, they can control only few players, right? And they didn't invite open source developers like uh, Elon Musk or let's say Meta, Facebook in their commissions, which were supposed to discuss and make decisions. And this, of course, is not sustainable because, okay, you can prohibit something in USA, but then China and like other countries will release the same thing and better and make it open source. So, well, now Trump has rescinded these regulations, which is good. So these are some open source groups, companies in different countries. You see a lot of them in USA and Europe. So Meta, Mistral in France, Euro LLM Consortium, Stability AI in UK, some other companies, Hugging Face, of course, here in America, X.AI, which is Twitter, it's Elon Musk, TII, which is Technology Innovation Institute. This is Arabic world, very well funded, by the way, and some other companies, including, of course, Microsoft, Google, and Apache Software Foundation. In China, we're talking about DeepSeek, Alibaba, Minimax, O1, well, and many, many others. And yeah, in India mostly concentrates on applications like, for example, models which can understand and translate different Indian languages. Anyway, yet another model coming from Mistral. You know, Mistral is a famous company from Europe. And here we have Mistral Small 3. I don't know why it's called small. It's 24 billion parameters. Before they had the famous model, which was 7 billion parameters. So it is open source, Apache. They released base and instruct versions. It's designed to be very fast, 150 tokens a second, accurate, and it is a competitor, and it's improved on top of, let's say, Llama 3.370B or Qwen-2.5-32B, which is a good models, quality models. But this one, okay, now I understand why it's small, because it's smaller than them, right, in size. And even GPT-4o Mini, which is closed source. So it's available everywhere. Llama, Llama CPP, La Platform, which is their own French platform, Hugging Face, and so on. Multilingual, supports European languages and also Chinese, Japanese, Korean. Can be used for conversational assistance, function calling, fine-tuning, understands JSON, can extract JSON, return JSON, adhere to JSON schema, and can do simple puzzles and even generate jokes. So this is the announcement, and this is the video with like testing of the model. Yet another thing is coming from Allen AI Institute, and what they did, they took their model, which was released in the fall, I think in November, and they improved it and increased the size to 405 billion. It is open source. Everything they do is open source. But the result is it surpasses DeepSeek V3. It performs on par with GPT-4o. It's available on Hugging Face. It's completely open source. Everything, what Allen AI is doing is absolutely open. So you have it. So yes, DeepSeek is good, but there are other providers of very good models. Okay, coconut paper. We spoke about this paper before. This is coming from Meta, where they, LLM models deal with tokens, which is like about 4 characters. But you can also do modeling in space where you deal with sentences, right? And this is coming from paper, and she explains, and it's called the coconut paper. Coconut stands for chain of continuous thought. So this is the paper from December, and I really like teacher the way she explains things very clearly. I love her channel. So here is the video, and this is the original paper from December from Meta. Next, Thinking in Systems by Donella Meadows. Well, this is not new. This is a book, bestseller of 2008, but it has a quote which I found very interesting. So it says that we cannot control systems or figure them out, but we can dance with them. So she talks about complicated systems. At a certain level of complexity, you cannot really control the systems. This is the main conclusion, but you can learn how to deal with them. So I think this is very insightful. It was before AI, but it's very, very applicable. I think good book to buy and read. Okay, some updates, AI updates. Parlant, I don't know, the behavior guidance framework for customer-facing agents. So you can install it and use it. It's open source, GitHub. Next, Sky T132B Flash, a new reasoning model, and you can see how it behaves on the level with some of the best models. Performance on par with O1 preview, reduces overthinking, slashing inference cost by 57%. So the purpose of this model is to give responses faster. It's a reasoning model, but it reasons in a fast way. So Berkeley Sky Computing Lab created this model, and this is the Hugging Face, so it's open source. OpenAI diversifies cloud providers. So OpenAI started with only using Microsoft Cloud, but now they started using other clouds, which helps them to get more compute power, to develop faster, reduce dependency on Microsoft, potentially reduce costs, also influence revenue sharing, and Microsoft may lose access to some intellectual property. So this is a big event. Okay, measuring political preferences in AI systems, an integrative approach. So this is the link to this article. Report analyzes political bias in LLMs. The key findings: most conversational AI systems display leaning preferences, though for different degrees. And they talk about different models and how they differ. Okay, Alibaba GTE Modern Birth. Okay, this is a new embedding model. Series of models are built upon the latest modern birth pre-trained encoder-only foundation models. Okay, this is of course in Hugging Face. I guess very good model. Frankly, there are so many models. There is like it's full-time job just to read about them, and even like 2 full-time jobs to maybe test them. Anyway, OpenAI ChatGPT governmental platform. So OpenAI, as I already mentioned, worked very closely with government, and they released the platform, which is actually based on Microsoft Azure Cloud. It's already being used by 90,000 governmental employees, 3,500 agencies. 18 million messages were sent in January alone, so in just 1 month. Goose, open source extensible local AI agent automating engineering tasks. Okay, so this is GitHub repository for that. Can help testing debugging software. Co-RAG, so it's a chain of retrieval augmented generation. So it's AI framework for iterative retrieval and reasoning. It's actually coming from Microsoft, but Microsoft in China. So this is the paper. It's very interesting. The RAG, the simple RAG is like one shot, right? But here you do multiple calls to LLMs to achieve better performance. The idea is new, but this is good implementation, and they coined this very good abbreviation, CORAG. Next, Dario Amadei. So he published this report on DeepSeek and export controls. So this is the link to the report, and this is the link to Matthew Berman review of this report, review and analysis. I love Matthew and how he does it. And the idea is that DeepSeek released the model. They probably distilled the data from OpenAI, well, everybody is doing it. Everybody's like, it's very difficult actually to separate because uh, a lot of OpenAI stuff is online and it's not labeled as OpenAI. So how people separate, it's almost impossible. So Amadei emphasizes the importance of scaling laws, the impact of software and hardware improvements, emergence of new paradigms like using of reinforcement learning, which we've seen this week in multiple models. Uh, Saying that R1 is not unique breakthrough, it's not even something like really new, it's not revolutionary. DeepSeek V3 model is not just $5 million, yes. And Amadei concludes by emphasizing the importance of export controls to maintain US lead in AI. And he predicts that AI will be smarter than humans likely in 26-27. So we have maybe a couple of years. Okay, I want to mention Anderson Horowitz. So this is Mark Anderson and this is Ben Horowitz. And in 2009, they created this company called AH, which is Anderson Horowitz Capital Management LLC, commonly known as Anderson Horowitz or A16Z. So this is their website. They have, so this is a venture capital firm, right? So they take money from people and they invest in different companies, in different technologies. And I wanted just to make a list of AI companies they invested into. And this is the list of these companies. There is 132 companies, right? So Anderson Horowitz currently has about 42 billion under management. Not currently, it was in May last year. It charges about 2% per year for money management, have about 500 employees. So yeah, they're doing very well financially. And here are some links. Next is Crowdsource Arena leaderboard. So this is from 4 years ago, but what's interesting? First of all, DeepSeek R1 is very close. So this is for English only queries, this is for coding, and you see that DeepSeek R1 is very good. Gemini, the red dots is Google. So you see Gemini, and on this particular Gemini is Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking, and the date is January 21. So it is the top for English only queries, and it's also pretty good for coding, right? Then yellow is OpenAI. So you see a lot of yellow. You see a lot of China, right? And some of them are like green, and China means it's open source. Like for example, DeepSeek version 2.5, and this is from December, and this is also from December. Yeah, and this is from January recently. Claude, I love Claude. In English queries, it doesn't even get into the top, but in coding, it's still here. Claude, the data offset, I think, is August last year. So if the software was released after that, Claude doesn't know about it. Okay, so this is the status of the leaderboard arena. This is me, and thank you.